Hari Om. We will be a little delayed today because it looks like the scheduled invites couldn't go out because the number of webinars got consumed and people forgot to extend it. So we'll just wait for a couple of minutes, maybe 5 minutes late we'll start. Hari Om. Sorry that we got a little into trouble today because all the scheduled invitations were over with last week and Vyoma actually forgot to extend the schedule. So that's why we are getting a little delayed, but I think we can start the chanting now. So Suvarna, you can start.
Namaskaram.
Namaskaram.
Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvam Anusandathami Bhagavad-gīte Bhavadveshini Namostu te Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Phullaravindayata Patra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajwalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha प्रपन्न पारिजाताय तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः सर्वोपनिषदो गावः दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णौ वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटं नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितम् लोके सज्जन षट्पदैरहरः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद् भारत पङ्कजं कलिमलप्रध्वंसि न श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुल्लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थित तद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तन्न विदुः सुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवादः भगिनी। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ परं वरिष्ठं ब्रह्मिष्ठं परमानन्दरूपिणं परमार्थानन्दयतिं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। I hope you're all able to hear me. Okay, thank you. So after talking about the Kshetram and Kshetrajnaha up to verse 7, now from the 8th verse up to the 12th verse, Lord Krishna is dealing with the topic of Jnanam, which Arjuna had asked for, right? So you should remember Arjuna's question, right, which we saw in the very first verse. Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Kshetram Kshetrajnam Evacha Etat Veditum Ichchami Jnanam Nyayam Cha Keshava. And as I said in the last class, here Jnanam refers to a very, very special meaning in this context, right? It refers to all the virtues which are useful for gaining spiritual knowledge. So spiritual knowledge friendly virtues, we can say. And Lord Krishna is going to enumerate 20 virtues in these 5 shlokas, right? And we just had entered this topic and we had started seeing the first one. Actually, we had completed the first one, right? So we were seeing verse 8 and I had completed discussion about amanitvam, right? So the simple and direct meaning is humility, being humble, right? That's a very important virtue of a student. And to develop this humility alone in our culture, we have this practice of doing namaskara, right? So when there is arrogance or pride or vanity, it is very, very difficult to bend in front of someone, right? To avoid that problem and to develop humility in our culture, they say you must start doing namaskara from a very young age. I don't know whether you have observed this. I think we are losing out on this culture quite a bit now, because if you see the earlier generations, the smaller, younger children, as well as, the younger adults used to prostrate in front of, elders, temples, God, all of them. But today we see that practice is coming down, right? Even amongst our own families and children, etc. So it is very important for us to inculcate this practice very young, because I also see that some of them question saying, what is this habit of prostrating in front of another person, etc., right? I see that, right? And I see that even amongst Hindus, maybe because we don't understand the Tatparyam. Now, humility is a very, very important virtue that is required for spiritual study, right? So, whether it is parents, whether it is jnanis, whether it is gurus, right? Elders, right? And temple also, this namaskara was helping in developing humility. So, the humility is nothing but freedom from manitvam. So, it referred to as amanitvam, right? Meaning freedom from superiority complex, right? So, as I said in the last class, both superiority complex and inferiority complex are a problem, right? And whenever we have the superiority complex, Lord Krishna says, remember the verse 41 in chapter 10, which says, yes, yadyat vibhutimat sattvam Srimadurjitam evava tattad devava gachatvam mama tejonsha sambhavam. All the glories, the entire creation, everything here belongs to me only. And therefore, whenever I get any praise, I offer that as a namaskara to Lord. Immediately I offer it, right? And our tradition, even if you remember, all new dresses or a pay rise, a paycheck, or even salary, we always used to place in front of the God and then offer it as an offering to the Lord, and then only take it, inclusive of all the praises, glories, certificates, whatever we achieve, ranks, promotions, all of them, right? Similarly, on the other side, if you have a problem of inferiority complex, then you remember, right, that there are so many people in this world who are not as blessed as you. So that helps you get over the inferiority complex also. So with for amanitvam, the recommendation is that we should develop satsangam so that we can move with people of similar thoughts and will help us actually move forward in our spiritual journey. Now, amanitvam is the feeling of superiority at the mental level. It is an invisible feeling, but not expressed or stated, right? It's only a feeling. But dambitvam is when I try to express the feeling either by my language or by the type of things I'm using. Vesha, bhasha, bhushadibihi. Through various expressions, I try to convey to the other that I am superior. That pomp and show is called dambitvam, right? Now, having an ordinary car versus an expensive car, right? Whenever there is a social gathering, especially, using that car to show off that higher status. Now, when I say that, I definitely understand that we are in a society. I come from a corporate background. There are places where we definitely have to do this because of our profession, right? Our standing in the corporate, place or in our business. So we must remember that that is a vesham that we are actually putting on, like the famous example that Swamiji says, like Amitabh Bachchan playing a beggar role, right? So these are all veshams, and in our spiritual journey, dambitvam is definitely a problem, right? And in fact, Swamiji goes to the extent of saying, if you want, please do all that, but come home in the evening and do some prayachittam, that you had to show off like this unnecessarily, right? So dambitvam is a very, very big and serious problem. So may you practice simplicity. However great you are, right? He always says, there are some, functions in which there are these rich people who donate, right, for conducting the function itself. Now, instead of coming on time or 5 minutes before time, if you see, invariably they will come 15 minutes late, and then everybody in the hall is made to wait, right? And then they walk in with lot of pomp and show. Swamiji keeps on saying that that is not correct at all, right? So adambitvam is a very, very important virtue, freedom from pomposity, right? In simple English, just simplicity, right? So that's the second one, adambitvam. The third one, the next virtue is ahimsa. Very difficult, but considered to be a mahavratam, right? So what do you mean by ahimsa? Not inflicting pain on others deliberately, right? without my knowledge, when I walk or when I do something inadvertently, I cause pain and I'm helpless. For that, we have the daily prayer. Which one is that? Karacharana kritam va, kayajam karmajam va, manasam va paradam. With by omission or commission, if I make some mistake, please pardon me. In Shiva Manasa Puja, every night or every day, we are supposed to, chant that and seek, right? Sincerely seek these, seek pardon for any unknowingly caused hurt, right? So unknowingly, if I've hurt someone, oh Lord, give them peace of mind and make sure that I am not I am not having this papam of having hurting somebody. So all the living beings have got universally two expectations. One is they want to be always happy, right? Sukham me sarvada bhuyat. All the time there should be happiness. And the other parallel desire is dukkham ma bhut kadachana. I should never have pain, right? So through my thought, through my word, and through my action, this is considered to be a mahavritam, right? And this is a very important virtue which is enumerated, right? So in fact, ahimsa satyam asteyam, they enumerate satyam as only second to ahimsa. And ahimsa in exceptional cases, like a doctor inflicting pain on a patient because the benefits are going to be far superior, that is fine. They are exceptional reasons, right? So it's a very, very important virtue. And whatever pain I am depositing in the world, it is going to come back to me one day or the other. If I inflict pain on others, it will come back to me some other day, right? In some other form. So ahimsa is the third virtue. And the next one is shantihi. Shantihi means the endurance or the capacity to withstand pain when it comes to me. So the endurance or the tolerance, right, to withstand pain, whether it is physical or mental pain, developing the tolerance or endurance, right? So why should I develop the tolerance or endurance? Lord Krishna has given the answer in the second chapter, right? Matra sparshastu kaunteya शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखदा agama payino nityaha tam stitikshasva bharata, right? In the second chapter, 14th verse, we saw sense organs and objects which cause cold, heat, pleasure and pain are subject to arrival and departure. They are impermanent. O Arjuna, endure them, right? So Krishna says this here. Shantihi is titiksha of the second chapter, right? Because the answer is life is going to involve, right, going through a lot of pain. You can never avoid pain. It is an integral part of life. Some of the pains we can remedy, but some of them are choiceless, right? The doctor sometimes is put up with it, right? So there are always two kinds of prarabdham, the pains that come through two types of prarabdham. Durbala prarabdham, right, which is remediable pains, and non-remediable pains coming through prabala prarabdham, right? Since we have to necessarily go through, it is better to improve our tolerance level, right? So lesser the tolerance, greater the impact, right? So stress is actually the amount of pain that comes to me, and strain is the amount of impact I feel. So stress is an objective measure, but the strain, right, it's an impact which is on me, right? So depending on my tolerance level, depending on what kind of helmet I'm wearing, right? So I can reduce the strain. The impact of an accident is greatly reduced by a helmet. Similarly, you can reduce this by developing titiksha or kshantihi. So it is a helmet for the mind basically. So when I increase my tolerance level, whenever opportunity comes, right, I can see whether, my response is coming down. Am I acting or am I reacting, right? So in order to improve the tolerance or titiksha, right, the exercise given is tapaha. Any exercise, right, that I practice to increase my tolerance level is called tapas. Fasting is tapas, right? Whereas starving is pain. When I deliberately take a sankalpa, right, and I fast, then it is a tapas, right? And As my tolerance level increases, the anxiety level starts coming down, right? And there are many positive benefits. Not only that, my anger also comes down, and because anger is always the expression of intolerance, therefore it is a remedy for fear, it's a remedy for anxiety, it is a remedy for anger. Therefore titiksha is considered a very, very important virtue, right? So life actually involves continuous confrontation of flowing and constantly arriving and departing events, right? Many of them are pleasurable, many of them are equally painful also, because as we exhaust the prarabdha karma, both punyam and papam will keep coming up, right? And it will give sukham as well as dukham, right? And both are adrishtam. Adrishtam means not, we cannot see it with our eyes, right? Even today, tomorrow, I'm going to have some prarabdham which I'm going to exhaust, whether it is punyam or papam. I do not know, and it is unpredictable, right? So compulsorily I'll have to go through pleasure and pain. So that is why even in Puranic stories, they show Rama or Dharmaputra or Lord Krishna, even avatars had to go through them, right? Then where to talk of us who are ordinary mortals, right? So the power of the event, while it's called stress, the impact on our mind we refer to as strain, right? That is why in the family itself you can see an event remaining the same, different people are affected in different degrees. Why different degrees, the event remaining the same? It is only because of our mental state. And according to scriptures, as we raise our tolerance and endurance, the situation's impact will come down. Therefore, the injury they can cause to my mind, the trauma that it can create also will come down, which means I can bounce back quickly. So when my tolerance level is very low, the impact, the injury, the trauma is so deep that it will continue till the rest of my life, right? Which means I can never move on. So if you want to move on in life in spite of ups and downs, the only remedy is wear an emotional helmet, right? Just as we wear a helmet to save our brain in times of accidents, right? So therefore, Lord Krishna said in the second chapter, moksha especially requires this value, right? So in chapter 2, in the 15th verse, yam hina vyatayante te purusham purusharshava sama dukkha sukham dhiram somritatvaya kalpate. O Arjuna, such a person, right, for whom these sense organs and objects do not disturb, who is the same in pain and pleasure, who is wise alone, becomes firm for immortality, and he is ready for the journey, right? So that is why in Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti, where does Titiksha come? Titiksha is one of Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti, the sixfold discipline. So Titiksha alone is otherwise called Shantihi, both are synonymous, right? And this is tolerance. And a question will be asked, and many people ask this question. Now, if we implement endurance or tolerance, will it be mistaken as a weakness by others, right? Now, the answer for this is very, very important point. No. Tolerance will create a problem of exploitation only if tolerance leads to inaction. Now, we are not saying inaction is what is important. We are saying the tolerance must help us take deliberate actions rather than a impulsive reaction. So the deliberate action is what should be the result of tolerance and not inaction, right? So tolerance should help us in avoiding impulsive action, right? Very important. And once we avoid reaction, right, as the scriptures point out, we have time to sufficiently deliberate and then take action. Scriptures never prescribe inaction, very important, right? The scriptures only talk about deliberate response, right? So avoidance of reaction is not equal to avoidance of action. Avoidance of reaction, right, actually helps us deliberate and then take action, right? So that is what Lord Krishna is prescribing, and Arjuna wanted to run away from the battlefield, and Lord Krishna gives 18 chapters of the Gita in this context, saying inaction is not an appropriate response, right? So what is tolerance? It is avoidance of reaction and not avoidance of action, right? We have to take action according to the situation after due deliberation. Inaction itself may be a result of our deliberation and thinking through. That is fine. Therefore, titiksha is a blessing. It can never be termed as a weakness. So, kshantihi, right? So, we completed amanitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa, and shantihi, right? So, now next value is arjavam. Next value is arjavam. Now, arjavam means harmony of the personality. Now, different layers of our personality should work as a team. Life is a teamwork, basically. When we say team, like take football or cricket. Now, a very good football match, when you watch, you will see that nobody is particular about who should hit the goal or how long they should carry the ball, nothing. Their ultimate goal or objective is for the football to get into the goal. Now, for that purpose, as a team, they may pass around, they may run around, and ultimately it can be anybody who scores the goal. It doesn't matter, right? So they work as a team. It is teamwork that is important. Life is a teamwork because we have several layers. Annamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha, manomaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha, the pancha koshas we studied, right? And of course Anandamaya kosha. But here these four koshas are important. Now, intellect may decide many things, like say take the example of New Year resolution, right? Now what happens? It miserably fails because we are not willing to implement, right? So if we say from New Year onwards, I'll get up at 5 a.m. and then we write a diary note saying I am going to get up at 5 a.m. early morning, and then okay, do my prayers, do my meditation, all of that, wonderful plans, right? Decision is made, but morning getting up is to be done by whom? Not the intellect, right? The intellect tells, right? But what happens? Your manomaya kosha, your annamaya kosha, all of them have to function as a teamwork, right? They have to work as a team. My speech, my thought, my word, right? All of them have to function in coordination. Then my personality is a whole personality. But otherwise, they will start working at cross purposes, right? So, therefore, practicing the oneness of thought, word, deed is called uprightness, straightforwardness, honesty, transparency of personality. Manasa, Vachika, and Kayika, right? Mahatmanam, right? Who is a Mahatma? A Mahatma is one who, for whom thought, word, and deed are all integrated, right? So it is not that manas is anyat, vachas is anyat, and the karma is anyat, right? Anyat means other way. They don't work at cross purposes, right? So if he plans to go at 5 p.m., he will be there at 5 p.m., right? But what happens in the other cases, you will typically see in the family, there'll be somebody who will say, I'll come at 5 p.m. Then at 6 o'clock, they'll start thinking about even going, right? Which is absolutely wrong, and it can create lot of stress. And Arjavam is very important. Punctuality is the first step for Arjavam, and it's not just a social or worldly value. All our acharyas say it is an extremely important spiritual value. Therefore, Arjavam is the next important virtue, right? Togetherness of personality. Pujya Swamiji, Dayananda Swamiji uses this term. Okay. Now the next virtue is Acharya Upasanam, right? Means worship service done to Acharya. Here especially the Acharya refers to Brahma Vidya Acharya. Why do the scriptures insist on Acharya Upasana? Can we worship another human being? After all, Acharya is also a Manushya. Why should one Manushya fall at the feet of another Manushya? Isn't it below dignity, right? In many cultures, especially the Westerners, and Swamiji keeps on speaking about this. Apparently, in the Gurukulam, they used to have this 3-year course, right? Many foreigners joined the courses. So the first 1 week, 2 weeks, they're shocked because every time Puji Swamiji entered the hall, all the brahmacharis would do Sashtanga Namaskaram. Every time, before every class, not, once a day or something. So they were expressing the reverence that way. And for the foreigners, they're not used to this culture, right? It was such a shock. But by the time they completed their course and went, they also had got completely immersed in our culture, right? So he used to always give this example now, right? So very important point here is, here we are doing namaskara to whom? We are actually doing namaskara to the Guru Parampara, right? The namaskara belongs to or goes to the knowledge that the Acharya carries. We revere the knowledge, right? Therefore, knowledge by itself deserves all reverence. For instance, sometimes the Guru Acharya may be younger to you also when you're prostrating, right? Now, you are prostrating to the knowledge and the Guru Parampara. We must remember this, and that deserves all reverence. It is Saraswati, right? And second thing is the knowledge also is not invented by the Acharya, right? Now, it is not, it is a very profound Vidya, right? So, when we do Namaskara, it is to the Vidya, right? And that, as I said, that Vidya has come from Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmad Acharya Pariyantam, until my own Guru Vande Guru Paramparam. It is a teaching which comes from the Lord, right? Which is non-separate from the Lord. Therefore, Guru Namaskara is Vidya Namaskara and Adi Guru Ishwara Namaskara. And no Guru claims credit for himself or herself. The moment he receives the Namaskara from his disciple, he knows that it goes straight to the Parampara, right? Dakshinamurti, right? So, therefore, Guru Namaskara is equal to Vidya Namaskara is equal to Ishwara Namaskara, right? Very important. Once I understand this, I will neither reject the teacher nor the teaching, right? I understand that the teaching is fantastic. There is no greater teaching that I can ever imagine, right? Not only is it wonderful, it is capable of liberating me. Therefore, it will increase the Shraddha in the teaching also, right? One more important point is Guru Namaskara is equal to Ishwara Namaskara. Therefore, it also gives me Punyam. Now, this gives me Punyam. I can use it either for material purpose or I can encash it for spiritual purpose. The option is mine, right? Thus, Acharya Upasanam is considered very, very important in our culture, and that's why Guru Stotram, right? And in that we say Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, right? It is not worshipping a person, but it is worshipping the teaching, the tradition, and God, right? Then the next virtue is Shaucham, meaning purity or cleanliness, right? So first, cleanliness, significance of purity is at different levels. This is again another important point. Many times Hindu temples are being criticized because we don't keep them clean, right? Now our Shastras very clearly say that Shaucham is very, very important and the purity is at different levels. Cleanliness in the surroundings, inclusive of the road, outside our house also we have to keep it clean, right? Cleanliness of surroundings, cleanliness, orderliness, right? Cleanliness always includes orderliness. The residence we live in has to be kept clean all the time, right? And then our clothes, right? It has to be clean. And then the cleanliness of our body, then the purity of speech, right? We are going to see the 4 filters that one needs to apply before you speak. In the 17th chapter, we will see that. Very interesting verse coming up, right? So purity of speech, and finally purity of thought, which is the toughest one. And by purity of thought, we mean maintenance of the virtues mentioned here, right? Avoidance of what? Basically the superiority complex, etc. So avoidance of manitvam and dambitvam, or promoting amanitvam and adambitvam, right? So very important, right? And so shaucham is very, very important, right? So the mental shaucham, the physical shaucham, as well as shaucham around our house, the surroundings, our own house, our residence has to be kept clean at all times, all of them come under Shaucham. In whatever we do, that cleanliness and neatness. The next one is Thairyam, right? Thairyam means long-term commitment, steadfastness or perseverance. The willpower to continue any effort until the goal is achieved, right? Greater the goal, longer the effort, right? If you actually see, Bhartrhari writes 100 verses, Niti Shatakam, right? And he, in one shloka, he says, Prarabhyate na khalu vigna bhayena nichaihi प्रारभ्य विघ्न विहिता विरमन्ति मद्याः विघ्नैः पुनः पुनरपि प्रतिहन्यमानाः प्रारब्धमुत्तमजनाना न परित्यजन्ति. There are many weak-hearted people, different people. They don't start anything because they are afraid of failures. Naturally, since they don't start anything, they will never fail in anything, right? So he does nothing in life. Then the next is mediocre, slightly superior. Prarabhya vigna vihita viramanti madhyaha. They start something or they plan to start something, but then they withdraw their effort when there is a slightest obstacle, right? So that person is afraid basically of so many things. For instance, he wants to go to Badrinath, then he gets scared, saying, oh, it is 10,000 feet, it may be a difficult road, something may happen, so I'm not going, etc. Right? So, including Gita class, to attend continuously all the Gita classes, which might, go up to 150 or 160 or 150 classes or 140 classes maybe. It requires long-term commitment, right? So remember that it is not easy, and if you have that in you, right, that is Thairyam, and it is very, very important, needs to be nurtured. Now, this is a very practical, attribute or characteristic that helps people even in the material world, because anything you take, any new studies, any new hobby, any new venture, Thairyam becomes very, very important, right? So the mediocre ones never start, and the Uttama Purusha is Vignaihi punah punarapi pratihanyamanaha prarabdham uttama janana parityajyanti. This is what Bhartrhari says. They continue until they succeed. So they always refer to Bhagiratha Prayatna in the Purana. Bhagiratha brought Ganga down to earth, right? So even for worldly achievements, Thairyam is very, very important. And then the next one is Atma Vinigraha, self-restraint, self-control, self-discipline with regard to the instruments that Bhagavan has given us. Physical body is an instrument, right? And Bhagavan has given us sense organs as instruments, mind as an instrument, right? So we need to make sure that they are in perfect control and they don't sort of, wander in their own directions, and we have good control, right? So when they are under the control, right, then we can take care of raga dvesha, right, very strong attachment, etc., right? But when they begin to become wayward, right, and take liberty whenever they want, they do whatever they want, it becomes a problem. So we should have control on all of them so that we can put our foot down and say, no, now's the time, hey, sense organs and mind, for you to listen to me. Therefore, establishing that bosshood over the mind and over the sense organs is referred to as Atma Vinigraha, self-control, which includes tongue control, right? Eating tongue and the talking tongue, both, right? So if we say, okay, I'm not eating more than 2 dosas, come what may, that third dosa, even a bit should not go in, right? So that is the eating control. And similarly, speaking control. We should be able to stop and think at will before we speak our next sentence. So that control comes with a lot of these, meditation practices help us in getting there. Even practicing, Mauna Vrata helps, right? So thus Ashtanga Yoga of Patanjali is the most powerful system to develop Atma Vinigraha, right? So now we are not referring to Atma, the Satchidananda Atma here. We must remember here it is control, self-control, sense organs and mind control, right? So every virtue is very important and we have to develop them through years and years of toil and struggle. not that easy. Right? Continuing. Indriyarteshu vairagyam. Indriyarteshu vairagyam. Anahankara eva cha. Anahankara eva cha. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi. Dukkha doshanu darshanam. Dukkha-doshanudarshanam. Now here the word vairagyam means detachment or dispassion, absence of attachment. Indriya artha means sense objects, objects of sense organs, right? That is, entire world will come under indriyartha, right? Indriyartha vairagyam, detachment from worldly objects, right? No object in the world, or no fame, position, possession, people, nothing in this world deserves to be the ultimate or primary goal of life, right? Because all of them have got their own deficiencies. I don't know whether any of you remember, they have Trivida Doshani, three kinds of dosha, Trivida Doshaha. Dukkha Mishritatvam, whatever gives pleasure at some point will give pain, either by disappearing or by having some situation that can cause pain. So everything in this world will be mixed with dukkha Mishritatvam, right? And it is also subject to arrival and loss. So the loss will also happen one day. It is anitya. The second dosha is what? It is atrupti karatvam. Nothing can give me total fulfillment. It seems to give fulfillment until you reach there, right? The moment we reach there, then the mind begins to wander, right? In fact, we are not even aware that we have achieved something. Before that happiness settles in, the unhappiness comes in, because we are not satisfied. Like somebody buys a two-wheeler, they want a four-wheeler. Somebody buys a four-wheeler, then they want something better than the highest luxury car in that, right? So there is never an end to this atrupti karatvam, which is associated with all the worldly objects. Then the third one is bandhakatvam, dependence causing. Since the world has got, right, these drawbacks, right, because it is atrupti karatvam, bandhakatvam, and dukkha mishritatvam, right? Our scriptures point out that it does not deserve to be a primary goal. So you must not get emotionally dependent on them and attached, right? So it also, scriptures do not say that you have to develop an aversion also, right? For raga, we should not develop dvesha, right? So world does not deserve dvesha or rejection also, but do not have develop raga or deep attachment also, right? So spiritual growth obviously requires money. So this does not mean that you should not have, money, or you should develop aversion for money. No, right? It is just saying that don't get attached to it. And how can we help there? Pancha Mahayajna helps there in developing vairagyam, right? So Pancha Mahayajna, serving the society, serving the people, serving, doing the Pitri Karma, doing the Deva Yajna, etc. Right? So all of them helps us in creating a balanced attitude towards the world, neither raga nor dvesha, right? So, and then the next one. So after vairagyam, indriyarteshu vairagyam, the next one is anahankaraha. Ahankara means all the time talking about oneself, blowing one's own trumpet. There is an idiom, right, in English, blowing one's own trumpet, all the time talking about oneself, right? Avoidance of talking about myself all the time, right? As they say, I, me, my, right? These three words are interconnected, right? So we have to be careful about this. Now, we saw amanitvam and we saw adambitvam. Amanitvam is absence of pride at mental level. Adambitvam is absence of pride at behavior level. And anahankara is absence of vanity or pride at verbal level. Thus, mental, physical, and verbal level, we need to be humble, right? Now, there is a very valid point that sometimes in office, For promotions, you might have to speak about yourself, right? That is fine, right? Because you're doing this as part of your karma, right? You're working, and for that you have a performance appraisal, and there you have to make sure that you put up your case, right? But only one thing from my own experience I would like to say is, it is better that we always back these with facts. It helps us in our office, in, to put up a case also, as well as here also it helps in terms of the spiritual journey, because whatever we speak, we are backing it up with data or incidents, right? So obviously, for the sake of promotion and performance management, you have to put up these cases, right? It is okay. But again, Swamiji says, if you can, go back home in the evening and surrender to the Lord and say that all these glories belong to you, truthfully from the mind, right? Whatever I have achieved is because of you, the Lord, right? And do some prayachitam, you can chant some Bhagavan Nama, etc., right? So very important aspect here on anahankaraha, right? So next one is what? Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, Dukkha, Doshanu, Darshanam. Right? Now, I said that the entire world has got Trividha Doshaha. Therefore, we should not develop attachment towards the world. Now, the world includes our body, mind also. No doubt our body gives lots of pleasures, especially in the first few years and also in the middle age. But at some point in time, deterioration will set in, right? And therefore, getting overly attached to the body is also a problem. So Vedanta says, have a balanced attitude. Because remember, body is not only a source of joy, the very same body is going to be a source of problem also, right? The first half, the body is a blessing. The second half, often people wonder whether the body should continue or not, right? They'll start telling prayers, anayasena maranam, right? Even for that, they have a prayer, right? And then they will have to do ayush homam for dirghayush and all that, right? Now, the same thing, we towards the end, instead of just praying for long years, we pray for without any rogam, aroga, dridagartartam, right? We always pray for good health, because that becomes the problem. So attachment towards body is also an issue. So here Krishna is warning, saying dukkha dosha, right? Anudarshanam, right? So whenever you develop over attachment to the body and start pampering, then you have a problem, whether it is your skin, your hair color, or any of them, right? Giving over importance, and they're getting plastic surgery done for correcting the nose and all of them, right? They're all laying too much importance on the physical body. We have to get used to the fact that that will also deteriorate one day. Jara, degeneration, Vyadi, which is the sickness, and Mrityu, ultimately death, right? So we cannot neglect the body. We have to take care of it. We have to do our walks. We have to eat proper food, etc., right? It is important. But over attachment is what is talked about, and constantly being aware that it is subject to deterioration at some point in time, right? And also, as Swamiji says, at the very end, get ready, right, to thank the Lord for having given this body for the purpose of spiritual journey to attain moksha, and then having discovered this moksha, be prepared to hand over the body back to the Lord, right? This must be the approach with regard to the body. Continuing. असक्तिरनभिष्वङ्गः असक्तिरनभिष्वङ्गः पुत्रदारगृहादिषु नित्यं च समचित्तत्वम् नित्यं च समचित्तत्वम् इष्टानिष्टोपपत्तिषु Asaktihi means absence of attachment or detachment or freedom from emotional dependence, right? So in the 9th verse, Lord Krishna talked about Indriyarteshu Vairagyam. Here also he talks about detachment. In the previous verse, it is with regard to objects, and in this verse, it is with regard to people. We do have relationships and interactions with many people. Lord Krishna is not referring to close family relationships. That he is going to talk next. Okay. Here he is talking about worldly relationships, interactions with human beings, which is required for transaction. Therefore, nothing wrong, but getting overly dependent on that is what Krishna is speaking about here. Because the basic Vedantic principle is in the form of, is any form of emotional dependence is risky, right? So here he is referring to other relationships, not family and not any dependence on the world, right? So if you want to have emotional dependence, then you might remember that it is better to lean on the Ishta Devata. And our spiritual journey is from world dependence to God dependence to self-dependence, right? So have emotional dependence on the Ishta Devata, and sooner or later discover that Lord as your own nature, right? This is the aim of the spiritual journey. And by the time, right, we sort of go over from one stage to another, it is a long journey, right? A spiritual journey from world dependence to God dependence to self dependence, right? So this is asaktihi. Therefore, be alert, right? Have dispassion towards other relationships, right? And then the next is anabhishwangaha putra dara grihadishu. Now here specifically relationship with closer family members, and Lord Krishna advises that even with regard to family relationships, be careful, be alert. Giving up attachment is impossible, right? 100% detachment is not possible. So Lord Krishna gives a concession. Attachment will be there, right? When we are related for several years, detachment is difficult. But he says avoid over attachment. So he does not say avoid attachment. He says avoid over attachment, right? And how do you differentiate attachment and over attachment, right? Is there a solution, right? So how will you be able to find out, right? So one of the sub commentators, Anandagiri, writes, right, in attachment we have got mamakara, the idea that this person or object belongs to me, that is mamakara, right? That is over attachment, right? In over attachment, right, I have the difference is in mamakara, right? My identification with the other person is so complete, right, that becomes ahankara. First, we have attachment towards the relationship as well as family, that is mamakara. When the attachment is over, right, then the mamakara also becomes ahankara. So that is the basic difference between the over attachment and attachment. Attachment is mamakara. Over attachment is it actually goes to the state of ahankara, right? I will start seeing that my life has meaning and relevance and validity only if the other person is there. Minus the other person, I will conclude my life has no meaning or purpose or utility. This is over attachment. Therefore, with regard to family member, right? Family also, we must remember, is an institution given to us for serving and growing, not for developing emotional dependence. It is only for serving and growing. If you remember the introduction to Vedanta, Grihastha is not the final ashrama. It is for growing out of it and going towards Vanaprastha and Sannyasa ashrama, right? So even if we don't do that physically, at least mentally, we must come down on the emotional dependence. So that he says as Anabhishwangaha putra dara grihadishu. Putra is son, dara is wife, and the attachment to the griham, right? Over attachment to the house, the kind of fittings we put in, the kind of flooring we do, and then after that going on wiping every single minute, right? Excessive obsession, right? That is what is referred to here. So as Swamiji says, some nowadays even pet has to be included here because some people have that kind of attachment to the pet also. And the next virtue is Nityam cha samachitvam, chittatvam, ishtanishta, ishtanishta upapattishu, right? So basically always being equanimous in the desirable and undesirable situations, right? So in life, we must remember that we only have a contributing free will, right? And we don't have a controlling free will. Why? Because prarabdha also will act on it, right? So I can put in my effort, that much I can do, right? So according to our scriptures, every experience gets processed through the law of karma, right? So basically whatever we are receiving is coming after the processing of whatever effort I am putting in plus whatever prarabdha is fructifying, right? So my own karma gives pleasures and pains through the world, which includes through people also, right? So the karma of the past janmas are also acting. So it is important for us to remain with titiksha or shanti, right? What we saw just some time back. If I develop that internal strength, then I can develop samachittatvam. I can enjoy mental equanimity in all ups and downs. Therefore, he says, ishta anishta. That is what is referred to here as ishta anishta upapattishu. So when the experience befalls, upapatti means befalling, happening, right? Then when that happens, I don't jump with joy one moment and don't become completely morose the next moment. I am equanimous, right? So in verse 38 of the second chapter, we saw Sukha Dukkhe Same Kritva Labha Labhau Jaya Jayau Tato Yuddhaya Yujyasva Naivam Papama Vapsyasi. Regarding happiness and sorrow, gain and loss, victory and defeat alike, right? Krishna is speaking about it. Therefore, strengthen your tolerance power. That is the only solution. And if your tolerance power increases, samachittatvam, right? If that samachittatvam is improved, how will you know? We have spoken about FIR reduction and CCC increase so many times. So the frequency, intensity and recovery period after an emotional disturbance comes down, and cheerfulness, confidence, right, and calmness improves, CCC. Okay. So, and this is the state of the person all the time, right? So this is a very important value. Continuing. Mai chananya yogena, Mai chananya yogena, Bhaktiravya vicharini, Bhaktiravya vicharini, Vivikta desha sevitvam, Vivikta desha sevitvam, Aratirjana samsadi, Aratirjana samsadi. Mai cha bhaktihi. If inner strength is required to confront unpredictable life situations, bhakti or devotion to God is compulsory. And therefore, Lord Krishna includes bhakti also here. And we saw in the 7th chapter, 9th chapter, etc., how the progress of bhakti happens, right? So we saw across 3 different streams, bhakti itself, right? We saw at the knowledge level, we must have progression, right? And then the way we express our devotion also, there should be progression. And gradually we must progress. If you remember, I had a 3x3 block. I have given the URL. It is there in Introduction to Vedanta, where I introduced Bhakti Yoga. You can go through that also, right? So at the knowledge level, when I say there must be progression, it is from Eka Rupa Bhakti to Aneka Rupa Bhakti to Arupa Bhakti, right? So at junior level, I practice one God, etc. Then from there, I have to transform. The entire creation is the manifestation of the Lord. And then I claim Atma, Aham, Atma, Asmi, right? At the final stage, right? So this is the knowledge level. Then, right? So this is Eka Rupa to Arupa, Aneka Rupa to Arupa Ishvara, right? That is the bhakti in terms of knowledge. Then even in my expression, I have to gradually progress from Karma Yoga Bhakti to Upasana Yoga Bhakti to Jnana Yoga Bhaktihi, right? All three, one by one, right? So that my mind gets refined and I am on the Jnana Yoga path. So that's the ultimate bhakti, Jnana Yoga Rupena Bhakti, right? So now initially, other thing is I use the bhakti for material benefits, and finally, as I get refined mentally, I start using it for my spiritual success, right? And the next grace, right? And the ultimate one is my attitude. Like in fact, in we saw the 4 different types of bhaktis, right? Artha bhakti, Artharthi bhakti, Jignasu bhakti, and Jnani bhakti, right? So ultimately, the true nature of myself and the true nature of the universe as well as God is all the same, right? So my bhakti ananya yogena, right? So with total commitment and avyabhacharini, with unwavering devotion, committed devotion for the sake of moksha, right? So when I use bhakti for spiritual growth, that is called avyabhacharini bhakti, right? So there is religious materialism and religious spirituality. When I am religious for the sake of worldly benefit, it is religious materialism. And when I use religion and religious, my religious practices for spiritual growth, it is called religious spirituality. And Lord Krishna is talking about the religious spirituality and devotion, right? Very important value here, right? So the next one is, of course, Vivikta Desha Sevitvam Arati Jana Samsadi, right? So Arati Jana Samsadi is put together as one virtue. Basically, it means company of people, right? Ratihi means company. Ratihi means revelry, right? So Jana Samsadi Ratihi means revelry in the company of people. So in modern language, weekend partying, right? And just khao, pio, maza karo, that is Jana Samsadi Ratihi. So Arati Jana Samsadihi is that developing that, coming out of the revelry, constant need to have company, right? That is what is mentioned here, right? So Jana Samsadi Arati, right? So he says you go to good satsangas where you can develop your spiritual interest, right? Company of materialistic people can lead to addiction of a different problem, right? So, and therefore, in order to avoid that, as a first step, let us develop satsanga, and then we move towards seclusion, right? Slowly you will realize that there will be no problem in terms of actually going towards seclusion, right? So I think I'll stop here because I don't think I can complete all the 12 values I was hoping to complete, but we will do the rest of it in the next class. So we still have Vivikta Desha Sevitvam, Arati Jana, basically this is what we were seeing, Aratihi Jana Samsati. Then we have to still see Vivikta Desha Sevitvam, which is related to this. First is non-indulgence in people's company, and then developing seclusion itself, right? That is said in Vivikta Desha Sevitvam, which we will see in the next class. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, let me just see the questions here. On the topic of humility expressed as Shashtanga Pranam, in my growing years, yeah, I chose those elders who I respected and could prostrate, and there were some who were abusive and hurtful that I lost all respect, hence couldn't prostrate. Does that mean less humility, or does it mean giving respect to those I feel like? Many people may have gone through this journey, hence asking the question. Now there's a difference. In childhood, we just teach them to revere all elders, right? We don't look at good, bad, or anything. That is one. This is childhood. Now, even beyond that, we are anyway prostrating to the Atma, right? Behind the person. That is why we use the word namaste itself, right? We are prostrating or we are saluting. Salutations are to the Atma. So therefore, if you are a learned person, then you would still not mind prostrating. If you are a child, it anyway inculcates a habit, right? So if you're in between only, you will have this kind of issue, which is, I think, gradually we have to grow out of it, because the person who is being abusive, right, that person is anyway doing papam, right? So somebody else is going to take care of that person. One question about gurus. So many fraud gurus are present nowadays, right? Nowadays, how can we know if they are really following Guru Shishya Parampara, right? This is very important. I'm sure you can find out whether they have a Guru Parampara or not, because this consistent and systematic teaching comes down from Guru to Guru, and unless you have that Guru Parampara, which you will know by meeting the Guru, right, and attending a few classes, you will know who's the right Guru, and such a Guru is, your real Guru. So I'm sure God will also show you the path, right? Anybody else has any questions, want to speak up? You can put up your hands if you want to ask any questions. Okay. Geeta Vinod, please go ahead.
Namo Namaha, ma'am.
Namo Namaha.
Atma Vinigraha and Indriyartheshu Vairagyam. So there also Atma Vinigraha means literally control over senses. Now Indriyartheshu Vairagyam, if I would like to know the clarity or the difference between these two.
Yeah. Now Atma Vinigraha is self-control. Okay. Basically, it covers all of them in terms of your sense organs, your mind, right? Keeping all of them in control. That is Atma Vinigraha, right? So
yes,
it includes the tongue control. I talked about it, right? Everything. Sukshma Shariram in total. Okay. Now, Indriyartheshu Vairagyam is Indriya Artha. Indriya Artha, I said, is sense objects, right? So it is specifically towards development of attachment towards sense organs. Specifically talks about absence of attachment towards the objects, the Vishaya, sense objects. Yeah, that is it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? Actually, that's why I've made a table also. I will anyway share it with you all so that you can use it to check, and you can also take a printout and keep. Are there any more questions here? Yeah, 1 second. Dhairyam or Stairyam? It is Stairyam only. This one is Stairyam. 1 second. I'm just showing you the one. Yes. This is steadfastness. Stairyam, not Dhairyam. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we understand. Very, very important virtue, steadfastness, focus or commitment towards whatever you want to do or want to achieve. Very useful for material purposes also. Most of these are very useful for that, right? I am going to start my professional career. Okay, I'm fearful about how to develop time for spirituality. Now, let me tell you something. If you can just spend 1 hour a week, right, staying in touch with Geeta, any which way that you find it convenient, and you have a corporate life, a busy schedule, your professional life, there's nothing wrong at you know, when you're busy with your career. But every day morning, that 10 or 15 minutes of puja time, right? Some Ishtadevata shlokas or a combination of meditation and prayer, that is important. But the scriptural, you know, if you can spend 1 or 2 hours a week listening to Gita or any of these texts, over a period of time, first of all, you learn a lot, and more importantly, it helps you stay grounded and in touch with the spiritual journey. And automatically, at some point in time, you will get the time and you will get the all the infrastructure required to pursue it with in a focused manner later on, right? So nothing to worry about it, and this definitely works. I can tell you from my own personal experience. Any other questions? Yeah. Mohana, please go ahead.
Namaskara, Mahoday. I have a question. Isn't there a set of stotras? My husband always talked about it, about the lakshanas of a true guru versus a false guru. Where is it from? It is all written, and I think you also have mentioned it in the Vedantic thing.
I will look it up. I'll just look it up and I will come back to you. Even I feel familiar. I'll come back to you.
Because he used to say that, because when that Nityananda thing was going on, so he used to write this and show it to me, that these are the lakshanas, this is how you should follow, and all those things. I don't know.
I'll check and I'll come back to you, okay? Sure.
Dhanyavada.
Okay. Okay, then I think there are no other questions here, nobody else. There are no more questions also. Okay, so we'll meet next week, same time. Hari Om.
Hari Om.